Hello, everybody. How are you this evening? This is Sean. Appreciate you joining. I'm going to give folks just a little bit of time to pop on here. What I would like to I've got a child here in my kitchen that's I think she might be having a seizure, so forgive me if you hear the intrusion. One of the perks of working at home is that I get to dress in fluorescent yellow. And I don't have to shave, but one of the drawbacks is sometimes I get to listen to conniptions from the kitchen. Hey Esther, how are you? Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Sean, Essex, thanks for being on. So look, hey, I just got a notification. This is my 50th broadcast. So everybody, you're here to help me celebrate my 50th anniversary of Facebook Live posts. Look, what I want to talk about today is attracting talent, okay? And so as long as I've been talking about attracting talent, there's always been people that feel like they struggle with it. And it could be for a myriad of reasons. One, they just don't enjoy doing it, or their methodology stinks, or they don't have time for it, so they don't prioritize it. But I can tell you that particularly in today's job market, whether you're in corporate, whether you're in a trade, whether you're a functional expert, whatever that looks like, it is an increasingly just maniacal fight for talent. Okay, and as you guys know, baby boomers are kind of the capacity now where they can retire. And that's a huge bubble of people to leave the workforce all at once. And I don't know that we've got the enough expertise, and you're losing a lot of talent and ability all at once. So the pipeline, we can't fill it quickly enough. So what does that mean? Supply and demand. The demand's very high. The supply isn't meeting the demand. So it creates this chaos, this fight for talent. So if you suck at recruiting talent, then you might have a problem on your hands. Real quick, hey Tony, thanks for popping on. Raul Murillo, good to see you. So hey, before I get into it, if you guys would, as always, I really, really appreciate it if down in the comments section here, you type the city and state that you're joining us from. It's always helpful for me. And I think that the other viewers like to see kind of where everybody else is piping in from. So let's talk about this a little bit. So attracting and recruiting talent. So it's going to look a little bit different depending on what sector you're in or what industry you're in. Okay, so if you're in a trade, then it looks one way, whether it's truck driving, whether it's plumbing, whether you're an electrician or something like that. If you're a white collar professional, like an accountant, HR, finance, it looks another way. If it's sales, it's another thing. So I would say that one, common denominators, everybody wants to earn a living, right? So you've got to have a compensation structure that entices people, that is going to be enough to make a living for them. Okay, now you get into bidding wars with people over money, it gets a little bit ugly, but the good thing about capitalism is the market kind of sets the demand and the ebb and flow based on supply and demand for talent. So if you guys remember, those of us that are my age probably remember about 15 years ago, IT was off the charts. The demand was very, very high. The supply was a little bit low, and those guys could write their tickets, so the salaries went through the roof. But be that as it may, salary is not a differentiator, and I can tell you from experience, just making a lot of money does not atone for having a crappy boss or working in a miserable culture, right? Or being in a bad fit for a role where that I had somebody calling in, where you feel like that you're constantly in fear for your job. Okay, so put your recruiter hat on is you want to find the right person, the right time, and put them in the right situation. All right, that is mission critical for any recruiter, regardless of what industry you're in. So, how do you do that most effectively? Well, what I want to spend the bulk of today talking about is the difference between selling and the difference between marketing. And that applies, I think, in recruitment, just as it does if you're selling a product or a good or a service, right? Because, hey, Randy, how you doing, man? Kisses back at you, big guy. That was weird. I'm sorry. If you saw Randy, you'd know even more how weird it is because he's like twice my size. When I think about it, I think about fishing. Okay, and I'm going to use this metaphor because, again, I think whether you're selling product, whether you're selling yourself or your company, whether you're selling a service, think about fishing. So, type of 1, and he's a dude. Yeah, he's hideous. Well, he's a guy, so. And he's probably wearing khakis. But think fishing. So, down in the comment section, you're type of 1 if you're a bona fide fisher person, right? Like you fish, like really fish. Type of 2 if you've ever been fishing at all, but you don't fancy yourself really a fisherman or fisher person. I don't know what PC is for fishing. The fisher lady. Maybe we'll go with fishologist. I'm a fishologist. I fish. But I think we can all agree, whether you typed 1 or whether you typed 2, it doesn't work unless you're in Oklahoma noodling, is if you just jump into the water and start splashing around trying to grab fish. Put a big thumbs up if you think, down in the comments, get the icon, the emoji for thumbs up if you think that's a great way to catch fish, that you just jump in the water and start grabbing for fish. And put a thumbs down emoji down in the comments section if you think that maybe that's a bad idea. I'm going to give you a minute here because this is complex stuff. I know that you're going to need some processing time here. If nothing else, just to find where the emojis are. Go ahead. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay. I liken that approach to selling. Now, salespeople, don't get your feelings hurt, right? I don't mean that as a jab, but what I mean is that approach, it's all about the fisherman, fishologist, and it's a lot less about the fish, right? Okay, nobody asked the fish what they wanted. The fishologist just knew, I need fish. I'm jumping in the water. By God, I'm going to get some fish. And they start grabbing around. And maybe they luck out and they grab some fish. I mean, crazier things happen, right? If you're noodling, that can happen too. You might just happen to jam your arm down the gullet of one and pull a dandy out. I don't know. Little Boy Blue. Or is it Little Jack Horner? I don't know. I'm a fishologist. I'm not a poet. But the point is, right, is that it's all about the fisherman, not so much about the fish. Now, conversely, if you think that throwing a lure out is a better idea on how to catch fish, then put a smiley face emoticon down here. Any variety. It could be the big smile, it could be the moderate smile, it could even be the smirk smile. Right? But if you think throwing a lure out's a bad idea, and that maybe just jumping in the water and going after fish is a good idea, then put the frowny face. That'll kind of let me know what you think about it. Tony, thank you for the smile. I'm very encouraged. So look, in this piece of the metaphor, I liken that more to marketing. Okay, so the throwing the lure out to me is more marketing. So, here's where I'm going with this. You jump in the water, you start chasing fish around. the fish were in there just swimming around. No part of their being did they go, hey, you know what, I want to swim over here and jump into Sean's arms and get carried away and not have oxygen in my gills and maybe get cut up and cooked. No, no part did they have any say in that. Whereas with a lure, you're throwing something in that's somewhat appealing to them. Now, they're getting suckered. They might not know it. That's beside the point. But the point is they're looking at it and they're going, okay, I'm interested in that at least. It's not offensive to me. It just kind of went swimming by. If maybe it's a spinner bait, you know, whatever. Maybe it's a fly just on top. Whatever it is, it's attractive and appealing to them. Okay? So they're going to go check it out. They're going to be more inclined to check it out. They're darn sure not just going to go running from it. Richie Werner, man, good to see you. Thanks for being on. We're talking about fishing. I'm a fishologist. So, you know, maybe they nibble at it, right? And if they nibble at it and you jerk it too much, what happens? You're either going to jerk the lure out of their mouth or you're going to jerk it too fast before they ever really get a bite, and you're not going to catch a fish, right? So better, at least you've created some interest, but you still haven't caught a fish, right? Whereas if you put it out there, you create enough interest with it, and that's where these true fishologists know how to fish, is they know how to use that bait properly, particularly when they know the fish that they're fishing for, to have it behave in such a way that it optimizes that interest of the fish in the lure, increasing the odds that they're going to get a bite. You get a quality bite, you're going to pull it in, hopefully hook it, reel it in, and boom, you've got your fish, right? So that to me is marketing, and the analogy I'm making here is that you're putting information out there, i.e. the lure, the fish, meaning your prospective clients, right? Prospective hires, prospective customers, prospective, I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. That's a view from the top, by the way. If anybody, I made that before and nobody knew what movie I was talking about. But anyway, that's different, right? So sales is about the fishologist. He's jumping in, he's trying to get sales, and sometimes that's off-putting to people that aren't looking to be sold to. Whereas marketing, you're kind of looking at what's out there. You're knowing your audience. So if you're a fishologist, I hope you know at least where you're fishing, right? Or are you fishing up north? Are you looking at, walleye, pike? Or are you fishing down south? Are you looking at bass? What are you fishing for? As a fishologist, you better have a thought, because then you need to prepare. Shay Nobles, good to see you, man. Thanks for being on. Because you need to have the right lures in your tackle box to know how to adequately entice those fish if you're going to catch them, right? So marketing is no different. You need to understand your market. You need to understand the demographic. You need to understand what their buying habits are, what their tendencies are. And you need to select the right lure, put it out there. You need to attract that interest to where they approach you, angler. You know what? That's better than fishologist. Jackie Brown, thank you. She took it to a whole no level. Anyway, so here's the deal. Hopefully you guys see where I'm going with this, right? Is you've got to understand your market. You've got to create appeal to your market and then attract them to you, and you've got to provide value, okay? If you're not providing value, they're not going to nibble, they're not going to bite, they're going to turn and go away. Like if you come up to me and you say, hey Parker, I don't know, this is random, I got pink flip-flops I want to sell you, and I'll make you a hell of a deal. I'll sell them to you for 50% off. I'm like, I don't care how cheap pink flip-flops are. I'm not buying pink flip-flops. Unless it just by some weird occasion I've got daughters, which I do, which might want pink flip-flops. And then maybe, right? But if you're playing the odds, you're probably not going to sell me pink flip-flops, right? So, you got to know your market. You've got to study it. You got to understand the demographics. And then you've got to understand how your product or your service or whatever it is can add value. And then you position it in such a way that ultimately you're pulling those people toward you and you're providing value. Now for this poor fish, it thinks, hey, you're providing my next meal. Whether it's a minnow, whether it's a worm, whether, whatever it is. At least they think it's that. And this is a cruel analogy because at the end we all know the fish dies and we want our customers to live to fish another day. So pretend you're throwing the fish back. How about that? Then you might have repeat business. With attraction marketing, right? That's what you need to do is you've got to do your diligence. You need to understand your market. But again, people are more apt to approach you and engage you if it's on their terms. Okay? And I like to tell people, and I've heard this somewhere else, I'm sure of it, but nobody in the history of Facebook or nobody in the history of Instagram or any of these things ever went, you know what? I'm going to log into Facebook so that Parker can sell me something. That's a good idea. Let's do that. You know what? And then tomorrow when I log back on, I want to do it all over again. No. But if I've got something that provides value to them and they want to ask me more about it, then they might be inclined to do that. And that's on their terms. It's about them. It's no longer about me, right? So when we're talking recruitment, it's the same thing. But instead of selling a product or a service, what you're providing or what you're selling is an opportunity. So when you think about, you need to know who you're marketing to, what that talent pool looks like. All right, your talent pool is what your customer base would be. And you need to understand what your opportunity looks like. And again, now that's your good. So does my opportunity provide a career path for them? Does it provide adequate income for them? Does it provide, benefits, right? Now we've got Affordable Care Act, so whatever, I don't know. Does it allow me for advancement? Does it give me security and longevity? I mean, you've got to kind of know the answer to all those things. And you've got to be fishing and putting the lure out to the right group to bring them to you. But again, if you go trying to pull people too aggressively, you might land a few people by pulling some tricks, but they're not going to, it may not be the best fit. You might, like I said, you might jump in the water and grab a fish, but you may not keep it long. It might squirt out of your arms, right? Whereas if you get the right person for the right reasons and the right fit and all that good stuff, then you're going to have a better situation because now it's about them wanting to come to you. And if I can use a couple of companies as an example, right? If and look, this is not an opinion, but I'm going to poll you guys for a minute, okay? If I said, hey, I don't know, Black & Decker, I pulled that out of thin air. Hey, Black & Decker is having a job fair tomorrow, and I hear they're a really great company to work for. I'd love for you to have stay up all night and have your resume polished up and get with me tomorrow, okay? Versus, Tony, you took the words out of my mouth. Versus, hey, Google is hiring, and I need you to stay up all night getting your resume ready because they're going to have a job fair that I want to present you for. All right, I want you to type a B in the comment section if you're going to be at the Black & Decker job fair. I want you to type G in the comment section if you think that you might be at the Google job fair. Okay, go ahead. I'm kind of curious to see what we get there. G, Google. Yeah, of course you typed Google, Tony, so I anticipated that. All right, for me, I'm putting G all day, every day. Okay, and so that's the point. Is Google, their brand, their reputation, what they stand for, they have attraction marketing. They have developed their brand to where they don't have to go aggressively chasing after people because they've got people falling all over themselves to come work for them. So that's an optimal situation, right? Brad Helton, how you doing, man? Lakia, good to see you. Thank you guys for being on. So the point I'm simply making is this. You know, and right now I'm in network marketing. So as I'm looking to attract teams, I'm not just looking to go put butts in seats. That doesn't do the people that I'm recruiting any favors. And it certainly doesn't do the company any favors. And ultimately, it's not going to do the customer any favors. And it's really all about the customer at the end of the day. So it's the same thing in the corporate world, and particularly corporate world, because we as network marketers tend to work from home. But when you're in a corporate setting or a company setting, everybody has to kind of sit around next to one another and work with one another all day, every day. And so now you've got to have a culture, so right? You got to factor now, is it the right culture? So anyway, again, I want you to think about attraction marketing versus selling. So are you selling your company, trying to grab people, or are you working on your brand so that you're enticing people to come to you? And look, I'm not going to pick on Black & Decker, and I'll pick on a defunct company. How about that? Eckerd's Pharmacy, right? If you're Eckerd's Pharmacy, are people going to want to come work for you? Well, I hope not, because they failed and shut down. But if you're Google, right, that's a company that I think everybody could agree, whether you want to work in tech or not, we could all agree that that's probably a pretty cool company to work for, right? But they are attracting people versus chasing people. So again, I guess my point is this: selling can happen, but only after you've marketed effectively, right? Let me say that again. Optimal selling can happen after you've marketed optimally. You can go get sales, all right? You can have a gimmick. You can have a sale. You can have some kind of thing that compels people to get the sale once. But I would argue that that's not going to be as effective or long-term in terms of mutual commitment as if you were to use attractive marketing. So again, attractive marketing or attraction marketing, it's good for selling goods, services, but also with recruiting talent. So I think I've gone a little bit over my 10 minutes. Now, what I told you was the what tonight. The how is a little bit of a different story, and I've got some ideas on that, and also have some resources for that. So if my perspective tonight has added any value for you, do me a favor and type value down here if you've never really thought of it that way. Maybe you have, and if you have, that's cool too. Hopefully I just affirmed your thoughts on it. If you'd like a little bit of help, PM me offline. I'd love to talk through and talk a little bit of the how versus the what that we talked about tonight. Other than that, I really don't have much else. Again, I'm always very grateful for everybody that pops on. I know that it's about 8 o'clock Central Standard Time, so it's getting a little bit late. But thank you guys. Appreciate you viewing. As always, take care, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.